Dzień dobry, witam Was serdecznie w kolejnym wywiadzie. Dzisiaj mam dla Was specjalnego gościa, Matthew Michalewicza. Matthew to przedsiębiorca, autor książek, mówca, ma dwójkę dzieci, mieszka nad oceanem w Australii, ma wielomilionowe przedsiębiorstwa. Dzisiaj chciałbym z Matthew porozmawiać o tym, jak osiągać swoje cele, swoje marzenia i jak właśnie przejść tą drogę od początku do realizacji swoich celów, niezależnie od tego, czy będą to cele w postaci rozwoju firmy, czy też po prostu zrzucenia 5 kg nadwagi. Witam Cię, Matthew.
Witam i może ja wyjechałem z Polski, jak miałem 6 lat, że
Okay.
polski mój jest niestety bardzo słaby, że jak będę przechodzić przez ten wywiad, to może po angielsku będę dawał listeners odpowiedzi.
Dobrze, dobrze. Ja dam napisy, więc dla każdego, kto nie rozumie angielskiego, będą też napisy przygotowane, więc nie ma problemu. Na początek powiedz proszę naszym słuchaczom, naszym widzom, jak zacząłeś swoją przedsiębiorczą przygodę, jakie były Twoje początki w biznesie?
So at the university, I studied corporate finance, and while I was studying, I had my first company, which was a fitness training company. And when you start college at 18 in the United States, you don't have many skills, you don't have education, you don't have relationships, money to start any significant. But I always had a passion for fitness and had the knowledge of how to convert a body from overweight into fit. So my real first start in business was a personal training company, fitness company. And even though it was the simplest and smallest of all the companies that I had, it taught me the basics of business, getting customers, marketing, hiring someone, having insurance so that if you hurt someone in the gym, you won't get sued, developing some kind of brand, and the essential basics of running a company. Things that came later were almost built on the foundation of that kind of experience. So at the university, I was studying business, and then I had this very, very small company which was in fitness. It was called Fitness Forever, and that was really the beginning.
Powiedz mi, jakie było Twoje największe wyzwanie, the biggest challenge of this time in business?
Every company that I've had, there are always major problems. So it's not that at the beginning, major challenges. So that it's not that at the beginning you have one challenge in your first company and then you never have a challenge again. In many ways, that first company had the least amount of challenges, the smallest challenges, because it was the simplest. I was a certified trainer. I had customers and I trained them. So there weren't a lot of challenges. Later, when we did things in technology and we had to raise money, millions of dollars from investors, that was a challenge. Winning the first big customers was a challenge. Building a piece of technology was a challenge. Protecting it was a challenge, and so forth. So my first business was very simplistic, and the challenges weren't really major or significant in comparison to what came later. But if I look at all of the companies together and probably businesses that I've seen over the years, the biggest challenge in general is winning customers, because businesses fail not because they have too many customers or too much business. They fail because they don't have enough. So I think when you start any company, the biggest challenge you have to overcome is winning customers at the beginning and later, so that the business can be sustainable, can be viable, that you can create, that you can pay yourself from it. But when you create companies that are based on personal knowledge, like a law firm or an accounting firm or a fitness firm, the challenges are much smaller because you're selling yourself. You have skills and you're selling it to a customer, versus a company where you're going to build something, a product, and sell that product to them. Our challenges in these types of companies are much, much bigger. And they're much more, you have to finance the product, you have to get investors, you have to build a brand, support, and so forth. Much harder types of businesses than selling yourself.
W Twojej najnowszej firmie, bo miałeś ich kilka, w Twojej spółce, którą właśnie zarządzasz, czym się aktualnie zajmujesz? Wiem, że chodzi o sztuczną inteligencję, ale mógłbyś troszkę przybliżyć temat naszym słuchaczom i widzom, żeby w takim dużym uproszczeniu wiedzieli, o co chodzi.
The easiest way to describe it is software that helps companies make better decisions. This is the easiest way to describe it. So every human being every company wants to make good decisions, would like to even make the best decisions possible to win a market share, to increase profit, revenue, increase competitive position. Just like in our lives, we want to make the best decisions. We want to have a fulfilling career and live in the right place and invest in the right things and so forth. So generally, the quality of our futures is determined by the quality of the decisions that we make. And this is software that can analyze more data than human beings can analyze to recommend the best decision in complex areas of business, like pricing decisions, promotions decisions, inventory decisions, production decisions, and so on. So it's software to improve decision making.
Czyli przetwarzacie bazę danych i dzięki temu jesteście w stanie pomóc klientowi podejmować decyzje. Tak powiem to, jak to zrozumiałem. Więcej o tym projekcie można poczytać na Twojej stronie, na stronie Twojej firmy. Dodam linki w opisie tego filmu. Ale dzisiaj chciałbym porozmawiać o tym właśnie naszym głównym temacie, o wyznaczaniu celów. Napisałeś książkę, którą mam tu w ręku. Nazywa się Pół sekundy na życie, Life in a Half a Second. Powiedz, dlaczego ją napisałeś? Jest to Twoja już 4. książka, 5. jest już wydana. Powiedz, dlaczego napisałeś taką książkę?
Sure. When you have your own company, when you're an entrepreneur, the odds are against you. Statistics show that most 90% of new businesses fail within 5 years. So odds are against you. It's not that 90% of them succeed, 90% of them fail. So studying business at the university and knowing those kind of statistics, I began to be interested in what can you do to increase the chances of success. And starting at an early age, as 18, 19, 20, you meet with people, other entrepreneurs, successful business people, you read books, you read articles, and always you're thinking in the back of your head, what could I do to give me a better chance of success? And then after some very long period of time, 15, 20 years, I had accumulated a lot of, whether it's research publications, books, quotes, and so forth. And probably 15 years ago began presenting on this topic. So when you're an entrepreneur in technology and you achieve some level of success, others would like you to present and speak to other entrepreneurs to tell them, what did you do to be successful, so they can do it themselves. So I began thinking about, what am I doing to be successful? When you present it, what am I going to say? And it began coming back. I started with a presentation that I think was 15 points. And over the years, it kept coming down. And eventually it came down to just these 5 areas. So I had refined it, and everything that I read or saw always came back to one of these 5 elements. And I gave the presentation so many times and had so much material that when I sold my last company, I thought it was a good opportunity to put all of this material into a book. I love writing. It's a topic, the drivers of success, that is close to my heart. And it was a pleasure to put 20 years of information or 15 years of collected information into something very concise, very focused, very precise, 5 things that drive outcomes in life, drive success in life. And another factor is, when I sold my last company, I was in the gym and I was doing barbell curls, and my bicep broke off the bone. So I had a major injury which required surgery and reconstruction. So this was ideal time to write a book as I was healing. So that was, I think, a factor as well.
Oh, nice motivation for a book. Wow, great. Czytałem wiele książek o sukcesie, ale ta jest napisana po prostu, to jest prosty przewodnik, który pokazuje Ci krok po kroku, co zrobić i daje konkretne odpowiedzi, konkretne ćwiczenia, więc tak naprawdę mam wrażenie, że po przeczytaniu tej książki sukces jest gwarantowany, ale jest gwiazdka. Trzeba zrobić robotę, nie? To się samo nie osiągnie. I chciałbym Cię teraz zapytać, jak zaplanować swój cel?
So let me address something that you said. I think it's important for people to know that nothing guarantees success.
Yes.
Nothing. Even if you have perfect knowledge and inside relationships and billions of dollars, nothing guarantees success. I think the only thing that this kind of book can offer is it will maximize your chances of success. This is
Okay.
so I don't believe in guarantees. or sure things. Nothing is a sure thing. So this is an important point. Secondly, in terms of how to plan your question, how to plan success, and this is the opening chapter of the book. My experience is that most people don't have a clear vision for what they would like their life to be like. I have a sense and a feeling that people just go through life. They pick something in the university, and then they send some resume someplace, and then they get a job, and they meet a girl, and all of a sudden they have a family. 20 years passes, and maybe they change jobs. Life happens. Few people that I meet have a strategic vision for their life, where they say, I want my life to look like this. I want to live in this place and have this type of business or this type of career or this kind of job. I'd like to, few people, here's my vision. And so I think success really comes down fundamentally, first and foremost, to having this kind of vision. And in the book, I explained it as goals. And there's many names for it. You could say vision, you could say objectives, aims, goals, however we define it. But if you don't have a very clear view of what you want to accomplish, then it's extremely then if you are successful, it happens by accident. It just so happens you went in a certain way. It happens by accident. So I think this is the first step and the most important, because once you have a clear vision, then you can enact the other steps. You can begin to move towards the vision. But without a vision that you can move towards, success is accidental and unlikely.
Dobrze, czyli pierwszym krokiem jest wizja i zapisanie sobie, czego się chce, jak ma wyglądać twoje życie. No dobra, tylko jeszcze kawałek mamy do tego celu. I co jest potem? Jak już mam tą wizję mojego życia, mam to wypisane trochę ogólnie, no i co zrobić potem?
Yeah, extremely good point. Mankind, unfortunately, is a quite a lazy species. And if we have a choice between hard work to achieve something and taking a pill, shortcut, etc., we will always take this. This is why the diet pill industry is billions and billions of dollars. People don't want to. Losing weight is actually quite simple. You eat much less and you exercise. But this is free, right? Running is free, and eating less is free. You spend less than you did. But even though that's free, people would rather spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on pills to avoid this hard work, this hunger that's involved, and so on. So I think generally, if you have a vision or a goal, aim, a direction, one of the major gating items or barriers or roadblocks to achieving it is people don't put in the effort. They don't want to do the work, what you said before, the asterisks. So the next, and this is the second chapter is not a chapter about, hey, you have to work hard and then success will come. That chapter is really about aligning your goals, your vision, with something that is personally very important to you. Because things that are very important to you, you're likely to work very hard towards them. Things that are not important, you forget about them. You don't work hard. They get discarded. So the second chapter is really about aligning the things that you are willing to work hard for and go after, things that really excite you, that give you motivation, desire, with the goals that you've set. Many people set a goal, I want to lose 20 kilos, but they don't do anything about it. So there's a misalignment. So the next step is you have to really want it. You have to go to bed at night wanting it. You have to wake up in the morning wanting it. You think about it all the time and you go after it. I give people the analogy of being in love. So in the state of being madly in love, all you can think about usually is the other person. And you think about how much you want to be with them and be together. Your goals have to be like that. You have to have this kind of feelings for your goals. I can't wait for it to happen. You go to bed thinking about it. You dream about it. You wake up. And if you don't feel like that about your goals, very unlikely that they're going to be achieved. They become dreams. They vapors that just dissipate and go away. You have to want what you put down as your goal or your vision.
Okej, czyli musisz mieć to pragnienie, taką silną chęć osiągnięcia tego celu.
Tak.
Od razu mi się nasuwa coś takiego, że no, Wielu ludzi pewnie chciałoby żyć tak jak ty nad oceanem i mieć piękny dom, samochód, rodzinę, ale trzeba wstać o tej 5 rano i zrobić robotę, nie? I zastanawiam się, jak znaleźć motywację do tego, no bo czy ta sama wizja wystarcza, czy masz jakieś sposoby, żeby się motywować?
It's a good question. First of all, the things that we might want when we're 18 or 20 might be very different when we're 40 and very different. So as you go through life, your values change, your perceptions change, your goals will change, and what you want will change. So one thing that's important is as you change, your goals should change. So it's not about being 18, setting goals for the next 50 years and trying to motivate yourself desperately to achieve them. The best types of goals are the ones that naturally you are driven to achieve. You know, in the book and in many talks that I do, I talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I admire him because I don't know of anyone in the world that was number one in the world in a sport, then a number one in show business, highest paid actor in the world. I think he got 30 million for Terminator 3. And then he reached the number one political position, which was governor of California, that he could achieve. So clearly this is someone doing something different. You know, there's a lot of people that have been a sports star, a lot of people that have been a movie star, very few people that have crossed disciplines. And the reason, I think part of the reason that he's been successful, not only did he have vision and drive, is there was a natural desire towards those things. He loved lifting weights. He couldn't wait to come to the gym. He wanted to be the best bodybuilder in the world, and it was all he could think about. And, you know, then that same kind of love and attachment went into movies. Then it went into politics. So I think it's very difficult to artificially motivate yourself. If you hate lifting weights and you hate being in the gym, it's going to be extremely difficult to be a bodybuilder and to have big muscles. So I think your vision and your goals have to align with something that you ideally enjoy doing. He loved lifting weights. He loved the show business. He loved the politics and trying to make a difference as a public servant. So if you can create goals where you really enjoy the journey of getting there, motivation is natural. You wake up and you naturally do it. You know, I get up very early, 5 o'clock, 4:30 sometimes, and I have a gym in the house and I train. And I'm not training because of some goal anymore, but I really, really enjoy it. So this is the best kind of motivation, to align yourself with a vision that you're genuinely interested in, genuinely motivated to achieve, and you get up really wanting to do it rather than hating it.
Czyli mamy tą ogólną wizję, mamy drugi punkt, czyli chęć osiągnięcia tego celu. Cel musi być ważny, musi być jak ukochana osoba, musimy go chcieć i do niego dążyć. No dobrze, więc mamy to takie zauroczenie, wiemy w którą stronę, tylko pytanie teraz, co dalej? Jaki jest następny krok?
The next two are very closely related, and both of them are steps that limit people's progress or success when not done properly. And this next one sounds silly because it's believing that you can do it. And coming from a scientific family, I never was really open to superstitious kind of things, you know, voodoo and magic and closing your eyes, thinking about something and things. Those kind of things never resonated with me. So it was very difficult to write a chapter around belief, because belief seems very fuzzy, very soft, very intangible, almost silly. Almost like, you know, if I believe I can do it, then I can do it. Like Peter Pan. If I believe I can fly, then I'll be able to fly. So it was a very difficult topic for me to write about. But all of the research in the world, whether placebo studies or sports performance, business performance, point to one singular fact, that people that believe that they can do something put maximum effort into the doing of it because they believe they can do it. People that don't believe put zero effort into something. So if I didn't believe I could be successful in business, I wouldn't start, because I don't believe it can happen. So I never, the journey finishes, it's over, it's the end of the process. And the stronger your self-belief is, the more convinced you are that you can do it, the more effort. You just keep going. it was amazing for me to read about students in high school or in even primary school, the students that believed that they were very good in a subject were the ones that did the best, not their IQ score or some kind of natural belief, their belief. And the reason that they did the best is they believed they were good at it, they could do it, and they put the amount of effort required to get a good result. A smarter student might have been more talented naturally at the beginning, but having lower belief, they put less effort into it, and they get a worse result. So the next step, your question should be, well, how do I change my belief? That is logical and it makes a lot of sense. And belief comes from our environment. It comes from what we put into our head. None of us were born with any beliefs. We were born with hair color, eye color, size of brain, IQ. These are genetic predispositions, our height and muscular build and so on. But beliefs were all given to us from the environment. And the best way of changing beliefs is changing the environment. You can surround yourself by people that believe in themselves, that are successful in business. They know it's possible. And you begin believing because you're around those kind of people, versus being around people that have never done anything and they say, no, that's not for us. I would never be successful. And then that becomes your belief as well. So that has to be the next step to ensure that your frame of mind and how you perceive the goal, you really believe you can do it. Really believe, not you're convincing yourself that you can, but you really believe you can do it. And it's there's a whole chapter to it. And like you said at the beginning, and exercises people can do, but it's critical to success.
Dobrze, czyli wiara w to, że może się udać, i taka prawdziwa wiara, a nie zachęcanie się do uwierzenia. To jest, masz rację, to jest kluczowy moment. Ja też zacząłem się obracać wśród przedsiębiorców, którzy zarabiali mnóstwo pieniędzy i którzy pokazali mi drogę, która wydawała się prosta. Pokazali mi po prostu plany, jak do tego doszli. Jest przede mną wiele ciężkiej pracy, ale to jest wszystko możliwe. I dopiero gdy w to uwierzyłem tak naprawdę, zobaczyłem na papierze, no kurczę, zrobił to i działa. Ja robię to, też działa. Trochę mniejsza skala, ale to się dzieje. I teraz moja motywacja jest zupełnie inna niż te 4-5 lat temu, gdy jeszcze tak naprawdę, no dobra, widziałem te cele, wyznaczyłem sobie jakieś cele, ale nie wierzyłem w to, że ja jestem w stanie je osiągnąć. I dokładnie mogę się do tego odnieść, że przebywanie z ludźmi, którzy osiągnęli to, co ty chcesz osiągnąć, po prostu dodaje skrzydeł. Oczywiście praca zostaje, trzeba zrobić robotę, ale już z innym nastawieniem i z inną energią wstaje się o tej 5 rano. Dobrze, mamy wiarę, wierzymy w to, że nasze cele, które są już zapisane, możemy je osiągnąć. Co teraz? Co jest kolejnym krokiem?
The next step is related to belief, and that's having the knowledge of how to do it. Because generally our belief is low when we don't know how to do something. It looks like a mystery. I use an analogy of magicians where if you see a magic trick, you don't believe that you can do it yourself because you don't know how to do it. So it'd be very difficult to stand up on stage and repeat the magician's trick because you don't know how it was done. And success in business is very similar. You see an outcome, and to people, it looks like magic. Wow, but just like the magician is following a sequence of steps or a process, the things that you did in business also follow a sequence and a process. And the only difference is that you know what that process is, and the other people, they don't know. They're like onlookers at the magic trick. And the two are related. The more you know, the more you believe. And if you know exactly how to do something, usually your belief is high that you can do it yourself. And this is why I like spending time with successful people for two reasons. One, they believe that they can do it because they've done it already. So they have absolute self-belief. But the other reason that I like spending time with them is they also usually have more knowledge than I have. So the more successful someone is, it means they've gone further than you. And by going further than you, they have entire vistas or expanses of knowledge that you don't have at the moment. And they begin to shine light on that. Or when I did this was the things that were important. And this was the important thing. And then I hired this and so on. So belief and knowledge are very closely related. And usually you can find them together by spending time with people that have done whatever you want to do. They know how to do it, and they certainly believe that they can do it because they've done it already. And this changes your viewpoints. You begin to believe you can do it because you're being educated by their journey. Like you just said, these were the things that they did, and this was the journey that they took. They're explaining to you the magic trick, the process, the sequence of steps.
Czyli otaczanie się ludźmi, którzy już osiągnęli to, co my, którzy mogą nam wskazać drogę i dzięki temu będziemy zdobywać powoli wiedzę. No, nie tylko ludźmi, być może możemy też czytać właśnie książki czy szkolenia, które nam pomogą w dowiedzeniu się, jak wygląda ten proces. Przypomniała mi się a propos tego piramida celów. Mówiłeś o tym, że pewne te kroki są właśnie takimi znakami zapytania. I powiedz, gdy już mamy te cele, mamy wiarę, mamy już ludzi, którzy nas wspierają, wierzymy, że już znamy kilka procesów, to jak sobie poukładać te cele, żeby no właśnie spójnie grały z naszym dniem, miesiącem, jak to rozplanować w ciągu roku?
Yeah, the goal pyramid in the book, I think, is critical. It's your one-page plan for achieving whatever you want to do. And I found research that showed that if you have a current state, your current situation, and you have a vision or future goal, sometimes the distance between these two situations is so large, it has the opposite effect of motivating people. It demotivates them. So, for example, if someone is 100 kilos overweight and they want to lose 100 kilos, that's so far into the future that they said, I don't even want to start. Or someone that is broke and they want to be a millionaire, again, very big distance between them. So goals are more likely to be achieved if the vision or the goal can be broken into steps, into milestones. And you begin with the vision, the goal, you break it, you ask the question, what needs to happen for this to happen? And you answer that question, and that becomes the next milestones. And then you ask the question, what needs to happen for this to happen? And then you create the next layers. And it should connect your current situation with the end. And I don't want to sound like the steps are easy, because some of the steps can be very difficult and they might take a year to do and involve a lot of work. But at least now you have a roadmap, some plan, some sequence of steps. Okay, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this. And of course, like any plan, things will change. You'll discover new knowledge. You'll move things around. But you're now working on a plan towards something, rather than most people, they have an idea in their head. I want to be rich, for example, and that's it. There's no plan. There's no sequence of actions. They don't know what is the path or the major steps to take. So the goal pyramid, I view, is that critical exercise that puts the book together. And it's something that you can, have on a piece of paper and carry in your pocket. You can look at it in the morning. You can think about it before you go to bed. You focus your mind on it. So it's an extremely powerful part of the book that wraps all the concepts together. And if you have, like you said, the question mark, then you need to discover the knowledge. You don't know how to get from this step to this step. Talk to people, read books, watch videos, go to events, discover the missing pieces of knowledge so that the plan becomes complete.
Mamy już taki pewien plan, mamy te cele. Pewne rzeczy nie są tam bardzo szczegółowe i to trzeba sobie doprecyzować w kontekście całego dnia, w kontekście tygodnia. Tych kroków jest jeszcze więcej. Ty masz jakieś narzędzie, którym się posługujesz do planowania, takie już techniczne?
No, I don't use any kind of other than spreadsheets or notebooks, but nothing sophisticated. But your point is very well taken, that the goal pyramid in the book lacks that great level of detail of do this, do that. It has milestones, sub objectives, sub goals, and I'll give you a simple example of really what kind of actions need to be taken to achieve some part of it. So in an early form of the goal pyramid for the current company I have, Complexica, there was a goal of, let's say, I can't remember exactly, but let's say to win 10 new customers as a goal. And we're selling to very big companies, big deals to big companies. So it takes a long time to get a customer. It's not like a personal trainer. It's the opposite. It's a very, very long process. So to get these additional customers required 18 months of flying, I think, 200 flights a year and doing so 300 flights to get to that. And maybe I did 500 sales presentations, 600 sales presentations to get to that point, and so on. So on your goal pyramid, it might be, to have a business that does 10 million in revenue, and then somewhere you need 10 customers. But to achieve that step might require a year and a half and might require 300 flights and hundreds of sales presentations and so forth. So the goal pyramid is kind of the guide in the steps. But then every day you should be taking, this is the last chapter in the book, actions towards one part of the goal pyramid. So when you're on an airplane or you're doing sales presentations or you're meeting with someone, you know that you're attacking this particular box in the goal pyramid. Your action today is focused on this particular element. So the goal pyramid, I would have a notebook, and the goal pyramid would be pasted on this side, but on the other side would be actions for the week. Follow up with these customers, fly here, do this, do that. And all of those actions for the week were addressing one step. And then next week, next month, next quarter, etc. A year passes, and then you might tick this off, and you might move to the next one. So this is what I said earlier. Very few people, in my opinion, can persevere and put this effort over very long periods of time unless they enjoy it, or like Arnold Schwarzenegger, 4 hours or 5 hours in the gym every day for 15 years is an incredible commitment, not something that, a normal human being would be able to do. So that's why I think the goals and the vision that people create for themselves has to be aligned to something that they will enjoy doing, or otherwise they will give up along the way. It will be one of those, they'll make their life hell along the way. And even if you get to the goal by going through 10 years of hell, is it even worth it at the end? So I think that there has to be this alignment, which we talked about earlier. And once it's aligned, it will be a lot of work, but in the doing of the work, there is some enjoyment in that process for you.
Mhm. Czyli powrót do tych korzeni, że jeśli cel nie jest dla nas ważny i nawet przyjemny po drodze, no to trzeba się zastanowić, czy warto podążać tą drogą, żeby sobie nie postawić celu, który zmieni twojego życia w piekło, tak? Przez 10 lat będziesz robić coś, czego nienawidzisz, żeby być, nie wiem, bogaty, tak? Czy osiągnąć miliony, ale 10 lat twojego życia przepadnie, nie? Więc to jest ważne. I myślę, że to fajnie odnosi się do następnego pytania, no bo osiąganie celów nie jest za darmo. Trzeba zapłacić jakąś cenę w postaci swojego czasu. Trzeba czemuś powiedzieć nie, trzeba komuś powiedzieć nie. No i dostałem od moich widzów pytanie, jak łączyć właśnie rozwijanie biznesu, bo niektórzy mają taki właśnie cel, z rodziną. Jak u ciebie to wyglądało?
Yeah, extremely good question. And everything comes at a cost. So if you spend all of your time with family, there's no time for work or for anything else. If you spend all of your time in work or growing a business and never seeing your family, you lose your connection to children, to your spouse, and so forth. So hence this comes this idea of balance. But balance is very, very difficult because these journeys in achieving success require some kind of usually extreme commitment. I've very seldom have I heard of someone achieving something extraordinary and they were working 1 hour a week and doing it, or something. Because everyone would work 1 hour a week and do it. So usually you hear a story like Arnold Schwarzenegger, 5 hours a day in the gym and so forth. Rather, his story wasn't that I trained 10 minutes a day and I became the best bodybuilder in the world. So I think your question is a very good one around kids. So from my personal life, there's two things that were important. One, my wife and I waited to have children. I think we had been married 8 years or some period of time until we were in a better situation than at the very beginning. Because at the very beginning, the work is so intense that if you add children into that equation, you have to be Superman, sleep 3 hours a day and children and so forth. So one idea was wait. This will be a period for one thing. This will be a period for another. And then once we had children and I was growing our last company, Solvit, before Complexica, it required a lot of trips to other states. And again, I didn't want, my children were very small, so I didn't want to be away from them. So what I did is I set up times where every 6 weeks we went to Melbourne or to Sydney for 2 weeks, and I took my wife and kids with me. So then I could do my wife worked in the business, I could do the work in that particular place, and I could come home to the apartment or hotel, and I would be with the kids and not feel like I'm missing out. So this was a very, very important element, that you don't go on a journey and at the end you realize that you've sacrificed everything. You've sacrificed your health, you've sacrificed your relationships with children, your friendships, and so it won't be worth it at the end. It won't be worth it. So I think potentially I could have maybe achieved a lot more in business and maybe a lot more financially if I had approached it single-mindedly. Don't care about health, don't care about family, fly 400 times a year, do this, do that, and so forth. So there was maybe less success in business, but more success in family and health. I was able to train even when I was in another state at the hotel. I would go to the gym in the morning. I took my family wherever I could and so forth. So I got to the end without feeling that I completely missed out on this. I often use as an analogy this famous book by Alexander Dumas, The Count of Monte Cristo. And, he went to prison for 14 years. And then when he escaped, he found the treasure of Monte Cristo, became a billionaire, and he came back and took revenge. So sometimes becoming wealthy or achieving success might feel like you've spent 14 years in prison, and it's not worth it at the end. You would. I've met some very wealthy people in my life where they say I would give up the wealth that I have achieved to have a better relationship with my children because I completely neglected my family. So this is one of those points where, and again, returning to Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think he was 40 when he had children, or 42, which I think is a very important data point, that he was able to dedicate himself, for 25 years or almost 30 years to very hard work, to the things he wanted to achieve as a bodybuilder in business and acting and so forth. And he was, I think, 38 when he got married and then had children afterwards. So he was in a fantastic position to start a family and spend the time he wanted to spend with them. So again, he planned it that way, So this comes back to the original thing. Few people have a vision for where they want to be. And once you have a vision, you can begin formulating a plan. When should I start a family? How much time to allocate it? Versus life just happens. Then everything gets very hard, very, very difficult.
Czyli usłyszałem coś takiego, że równowaga tak naprawdę nie jest możliwa, bo czasami są intensywniejsze momenty w biznesie, w życiu, czasami mniej. I ważne, żeby mieć świadomość, na czym nam najbardziej zależy i poukładać sobie tak to życie, żeby czuć się ok, żeby nie zaniedbać jakiejś sfery życia, bo może się okazać, że w drodze do sukcesu, jakimi są pieniądze, zapomnimy o zdrowiu, tak? I wylądujemy w szpitalu, albo zapomnimy o rodzinie i żona się z nami rozwiedzie i stracimy tak naprawdę najważniejsze, dla mnie to jest najważniejsze, ale właśnie pytanie, co chcemy robić w życiu i co faktycznie robimy. Powiedz mi na zakończenie, jaka jest twoim zdaniem najważniejsza rzecz, która decyduje o tym, czy osiągniesz swoje cele, czy nie? To jest bardzo trudne pytanie, bo w zasadzie te 5 kroków jest ważne.
I think your question is good, and I've had that question before, and I've thought about it. And I think if there was one thing that was the most important, it's desire, it's drive, it's hunger, it's wanting. Because if you have this, if you're the kind of human being where you want to be healthier, you want better relationships, better career, you want a business, you want a better financial situation, and your desire is high, very high, you usually will figure out the rest. You'll usually land on a vision or a goal. Through desire, you'll meet successful people, and you'll fill in the knowledge and so forth. So if you don't have desire, it's very difficult to take action. Like just like we all have heard of people and know people that have achieved great success and it came at a terrible cost, family, health, and so forth. There's also people that I'm sure we know that are very talented, but very lazy. and they never do anything with it, you know. So it's the same kind of thing. So the desire is, in my opinion, the prime mover. It is the thing that will get you out of your chair, will force you, it will make you restless. You won't be able to sleep. You'll always be tingling with this want for more in your life. And I think that's number one. The other things can happen, but if you're the kind of person you don't have any desire, it doesn't matter if you have a vision and how much you know and what you believe and so forth. It's like a toy without a battery. It might be great and it, you know, look fantastic and cuddly, etc., but it doesn't do anything. So the battery is this component of desire. And when I was writing Life in Half a Second, I thought about whether desire should be the first chapter and whether goals actually come second, because usually you have a desire for something and it's vague. It's a restlessness. You want something better in life. This is how it usually starts. Usually it doesn't start with a clear vision. And this desire leads you to the vision. It leads you to the kind of a formulation. And I have a version of the book where I switched the chapters, changed the different stories, but it didn't work well in explaining it. It started off with something very raw, you know, strong, primordial, and it worked much better to talk about the importance of vision first and goals and having a direction for your life and then aligning it to desire and so forth. But I always come back to that. People with hunger, with want, are the ones that achieve. Other people are just observers. They're passengers. They sit in the train of life and it goes through different stations. They look out the window, they get off somewhere and they die one day. And so if I had to pick one thing, it'd be that.
Wow, no to jest mocna historia, czyli to pożądanie, to pragnienie dojścia do tego, czego się chce. Tak, zdecydowanie. Ja mam już 30 lat i przez 10 lat zbierałem wiedzę, uczyłem się, wyznaczałem sobie jakieś cele, ale ciągle brakowało tego pragnienia i wiary. I właśnie przez to dopiero mam wrażenie, że zaczynam. I naprawdę jeśli ktoś ma taką chęć, jest w takim miejscu, że potrzebuje uporządkować sobie swoją drogę, swoje cele, swoje życie, to naprawdę ta książka, uważam, jest jedną z najlepszych na ten moment, jaką znalazłem na rynku. Jest tam krok po kroku opisana droga wraz z zadaniami i naprawdę widzę w moim życiu wielkie zmiany i za niedługo, mam nadzieję, spotkamy się znowu z nowymi doświadczeniami. Jeśli chcielibyście posłuchać Matthew właśnie w jego filmach, to ma swój kanał na YouTubie i tam opisuje bezpłatnie te 5 kroków. W książce jest to opisane bardziej szczegółowo, jest tam jeszcze kilka innych ważnych zadań, więc warto sobie ją kupić. Jest dostępna w wersji polskiej, w wersji angielskiej, wszystkie linki znajdziecie w opisie. Matthew, bardzo Ci dziękuję za ten wywiad. Powiedz, czy chciałbyś jeszcze coś dodać na zakończenie?
No, I think it was great to kind of relive those steps, and the book is a very personal book because the stories, as you know, in reading it, are each chapter begins with a personal story. So, in addition to being a book that explains the essence of what drives success and enables success, it was also a very personal book to write because I talk about children. There's the choices we make in life between potentially having more success but sacrificing things. So it was a very emotional book to write because it made me relive parts of my life and so forth. And it's always a great pleasure to talk about it because it brings all those memories back. So in addition to being something that I really believe in, I feel like my DNA lifted and put into those pages, and it's encapsulation of who I am and what I believe in, and some stories about how I went through life and I lived it in a certain way.
Dokładnie. Miałem wrażenie, że mogłem Cię dobrze poznać dzięki tej książce. Oczywiście to jest pewnie jakiś element Twojego życia, ale w wielu historiach mogłem się odnieść właśnie do Twoich doświadczeń w tych wyborach właśnie, czy wybrać dzieci, czy biznes, czy zmienić pracę, więc naprawdę można tam znaleźć wiele inspiracji i konkretnych wskazówek przy podejmowaniu takich decyzji. Matthew, jeszcze mógłbym z Tobą tak długo rozmawiać. Jeśli się zgodzisz, to za jakiś czas chętnie zrobimy następny wywiad, bo temat celów, osiągania biznesu, sukcesów i i w ogóle sztucznej inteligencji, to można by rozmawiać latami na te tematy, więc chętnie Cię zaproszę jeszcze raz. Na dzisiaj myślę, że już skończymy. Bardzo Ci dziękuję za tą rozmowę, za wiele inspiracji i mam nadzieję do zobaczenia niebawem.
Absolutely. My pleasure.